All right, class. So before today's lecture, we're going to take attendance just to make sure everyone's here and nobody's missing anything. So, Bill, are you here?
Here.
And Rhonda?
I'm here.
All right, let's get started. Okay, guys, before we move on today, we're going to try to remember what we learned in our previous lesson. So, does anybody remember what we learned yesterday?
Oh,
Yes, what did you learn?
I learned to count to 5 and even up to 10.
And today we're going to learn how to add those numbers, okay?
Ooh.
Okay, so can anyone tell me what you already know about addition, since that will be our lesson for today?
I can.
Okay, Rhonda,
It's when you put two numbers together.
you're right. You're already on the right track, so we're going to do a class lesson and see if you get the right answer.
Yay!
So before starting today's lesson, we're going to talk about some of your favorite math strategies, since you seem to have a pretty good idea of what you're doing. So let's ask Bill first. What is your favorite way to solve an addition problem?
I usually count on my fingers.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Rhonda, what's your favorite way?
I like to use the number line myself.
That's a good decision, too. So today we're going to talk about some of the different ways that you can make math a little bit easier when adding. And this chart here shows a few different strategies that you can use. The first one we're going to talk about is how you can use your fingers. You can count on your fingers as long as the number is below 5, because we have 5 on each finger. So you can count in the picture that there are 5 fingers held up on one hand and 2 on the other. And if you count all of the fingers and put them together, you can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1, 2. And when you put them all together, it'll be 7, because you take 5 and then go 2 from there. So it'll be 5, 6, 7. Another way, which is right beside that you can use your fingers on the picture in the slide that we're looking at, is you can count on. So you can think of the larger number in your head. I personally like to use this a lot. And you just count on from there, and you can count on your fingers, just like we said before. So if the number is 5, the larger number, you just lock 5 in your head and count until you get to 7 on your fingers. So you would say 5, 6, 7, and then that would be 2. So 5 plus 2 equals 7. You can also use a 10 frame, which is just a rectangle that you can draw. You divide it down the middle, and then you section it off so it has 10 squares inside of the rectangle. When you do this, you can mark each square that you need for an add-in. So if your first add-in is 5, then you just mark 5 squares on the inside. If your second one is, it's not like this in the picture, but let's just say 4, then you can mark 4 squares in the next line, and then you just count them all together. So it's more of a visual representation, so you can see what you're doing and really prove to yourself what the number or sum of the equation will be. Also, based on the previous knowledge that you have, we have learned about tally marks in class before. And tally marks are just small lines that are in groups of 5. So when you count them and you mark them, you make 5 to a group. So if you're adding 5 plus 2, you would make one group of tallies, and it would be full because there are 5 in them, since that is your first add-in. Your second add-in will be 2, so you put 2 tally marks, and then you can just count your tally marks. So you will count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the first group, and then 6, 7 in the second group, and there's your sum. Many people also use mental math, and that's a little bit more difficult than a visual representation, like a picture or a 10 frame or your fingers, because you have to trust yourself. But when using mental math, I like to lock in the larger number. So if it's 5 plus 2, I would lock in the 5 and then just count on in my head. So I would think 5, 6, 7, so then I would know my answer is 7. You can also use mental math and prove the sum is right just to make sure by drawing a picture if you feel comfortable doing that. Pictures can also make math a lot easier. So if the equation is you have 5 jellyfish and 2 goldfish, you can draw a picture of that and you don't have to be artistic, but just like in the picture on the chart that we're looking at, the person drew 5 very simple jellyfish and 2 goldfish. So then if they ask, how many fish are all together in the equation, and your sum would be 7, that's a visual representation and a way to prove that the answer will be 7 because you can count all of the jellyfish as well as all of the goldfish. In some cases, a number line can be helpful. I know many like to use that as well as myself to this day. In this picture, the person that is doing the math equation drew a number line from 1 to 10 because they only need 5 and 2. So you start at 5 and then you just count up 2 spaces and see what your answer is from there. So you'll start at the plot point 5 and count 1, 2 over, and you will end up landing on the 7, and that will be your sum to the equation and it will be solved. Last on the chart, but certainly not least, you can write a number sentence with your add-ins and your sum. So you could write out 5 plus 2 equals. And you can use any of these strategies to answer it, or if you want to just solve it as in a number sentence, that would be a lot like using mental math because you mentally have to add 5 plus 2 and find out what that equals, which would be 7. And you can do that by, like I said, locking in the larger number in your brain and then counting on or drawing a picture, using tallies, a number line, whatever you feel most comfortable with. And if you want to do mental math, you can always do that and then use other strategies to check yourself. Okay, so you just learned a lot of ways that you can solve addition equations, and we're going to try to solve this one together. So you can pause your video for a while you work on it until you get the answer, and we will be right back. So we're back, and I was wondering how it went with everybody, and we will discuss our answers together. So does anyone think they have the answer to the equation 2 plus 2?
I think I do.
Okay, Billy, what did you get?
I got 5.
Well, we'll see if that works. It's very close, but not quite. But good job. Thank you for participating and trying. You got very, very close, but we'll look at it together and I'll explain it a little bit better to you. But overall, that was a good try. In order to solve this equation that we've been working on, which is 2 plus 2, we will use one of the strategies we learned before in this video. We will count on our fingers, and we know that each add-in is 2 plus 2. And in this picture, we can see that the person is holding up 2 fingers for each add-in. So when we count the fingers, we can count 1, 2, 3, 4. So the solution to our equation or our sum would eventually be 4. Does everyone understand now?
I do understand now, Ms. Devon.
All right, that's great. Thank you for participating. Now let's practice our addition skills using a 10 frame. When using a 10 frame, if you remember, like we said before in this video, you draw a rectangle, divide it down the middle, and make sure there are 10 boxes in each. For this one, we drew a 10 frame for both add-ins, 9 and 3. So in this equation, 9 plus 3 means, let's look at 9 first. We have our box with 10 squares. We have marked 9 of them because that is our first add-in. So 9 of those boxes are marked. In our second rectangle or 10 frame, the add-in is 3. So we have 3 of the boxes marked. And when we put them all together, we can look at it and count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 in the first one, and then 10, 11, 12 in the second one. So that would be our sum. Using a 10 frame is a way to kind of make your math equation and answer more of a visual representation so you can see what's going on. This is also helpful if you want to do mental math and then try to check it afterwards, because it's kind of like drawing a picture and proving that your sum is correct and that you didn't make a mistake when adding. It also makes it much easier so you can actually see what you're doing while you're doing it. And it makes it much easier until you become more advanced, and it kind of guides you along while you're learning how to add. Lastly, we're going to test the picture strategy that we talked about earlier to solve this equation or number sentence. The number sentence is 1 plus 2 equals 3. We can prove that this number sentence is correct by drawing a picture. So we can say that this was a word problem, and it says Jimmy has one bird and he buys 2 more. How many birds does he have then? So we drew a picture of Jimmy's birds. Well, he starts with 1 bird, so you draw 1. Well, then he gains 2 more, so you draw 2. And those are your 2 add-ins, the 1 bird and then the 2 birds. And then you can combine all your birds, and in the end you get 3. And 3 is your sum. Jimmy has 3 birds in the end of the equation or number sentence that you just solved. Since you seem to have the lesson down pretty well and like you understand what you're doing, here are a couple of questions just to kind of make you think about what you learned today and make sure you understand what you're doing and just how it overall benefits you to know this kind of stuff. It's not just school curriculum, it will help you in everyday life all the time. Based off of what we learned today in today's lesson, how are some of the ways that you can use addition in your daily routine?
When I go to lunch, if I want to get 2 milks with my lunch, I can add it together and figure out how much I owe.
That's a great example of using addition every day. What are some of the benefits of knowing how to use addition?
After school, when I go to the store, if I get candy, I can add it together and see if I've got enough money.
That's also a great example. Thank you. As you know, you can always check Moodle for any upcoming assignments. However, I would really like for you to make a thing link and include a Vocaroo of you kind of telling me what you learned today and just something about addition. Here I have added the links to my thing link that I have made as an example for you, as well as my Vocaroo that I included into it. It's very easy. Just record you saying something short about what you did learn today, and it will give you the option to embed this into your thing link, and there you go, you're set. Assuming that you understand today's lesson, because you all seem to do so well with it, here is a look into tomorrow's lesson, which will be division with these numbers. Here is a short link video on YouTube just to kind of give you an idea of what we'll be doing. It's very simple. I've watched it. I enjoy it. It's just kind of a stepping stone into what we will be doing. So you're not completely thrown in to the lesson lost, and you have somewhat an idea of what we'll be doing. I would really like for you to look at it. So thank you.